Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. We're first up, we're in the Greater Kruger National Park and in specific at the Djuma Game Reserve. And, well, I'm just hoping that we're going to have lots of animals coming down to the waterhole, and it seems like we've got a little bit of a freeze frame there, so we've switched on over to the Madikwe Game Reserve in the northwest province of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and what does the bush hold in store for us today? It does seem like it's already a hot start, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of animals coming down to drink, quench their thirst, and cool off. And as per usual, please don't forget that this is a live and interactive experience. So we'd love for you to jump on board with us and send us through your questions and your comments. You can do that by going on the WildEarth website and registering. You can also join the conversation on X, formerly known as Twitter, using the hashtag WildEarth. Also on the YouTube live chat. What is it that you'd like to speak about? What would you like to see? Whatever it might be wildlife related, send it through. Lots of elephants here, as per usual, when it's hot at Jamala, and joined by quite a number of giraffe as well. Yesterday was quite similar, so lots and lots of bulls that were hanging around, and there was the odd giraffe as well. It's nice to start off the show already with lots of activity. So, Chana, thanks for your comment. And, well, this is very well visited by elephants indeed. So, we've really been able to watch their behavior a lot here. And the bulls very often doing a bit of wrestling, pushing and shoving, as the bulls generally do. The breeding herds, they normally come in, have a little bit of fun, the youngsters playing in the water, quench their thirsts, and then don't really spend as much time as the bulls. Oh. I think it's those bulls that are having a go at each other, making the noise. So it does seem like it's rather hot here, and I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to be like at most of the locations. But that being said, let's go and have a look exactly what it's going to be like across all the different locations. So it seems like it's your average hot summer's day. There might be a little bit of clouds around, but most places reaching the upper 30s. And so it can make tempers flare a little bit, as you might see here with these bulls. But generally, they might become a little bit lethargic as we head into midday and it becomes extremely hot. And they won't be wasting too much energy as they are now. And of course, the peanut gallery, the giraffe watching on, the spectators. I must say that elephant bulls, they probably would win the prize for the best moonwalking skills, especially when they're fighting like that. You'll see when the one backs off, they can go for quite a distance walking backwards. It really does look like the old Michael Jackson moves. Looks like a youngster there with mom, but not a tiny baby. So, Tony, yeah, your comment about elephants having hooves. Well, I think it would be rather strange, wouldn't it? I don't think that they'd walk as quietly as they do with that lovely soft padding that they do have in their feet. But that's an interesting thought. And these bulls being very vocal here. That's what we want to see. Get on in the water. And whenever the bulls are being a bit boisterous like that, you notice that the breeding herds, they keep their distance. They don't want to be anywhere near those bulls when they're playing rough. And it's a favored spot to actually get in the water there where they are now, kicking the mud around. This is wonderful. You can just see the naughtiness in the faces of all of these guys. There we go. Jeepers, he grabbed that bush and threw it up pretty high, and it seems like he's got a bit of a toy there. He's carrying it with him, that one that's making all the noise. Looks like that individual's on his soapbox, and he's shouting to anybody that will listen. And there's one in the foreground down near to the stump, thinking about having a scratch. Is a favoured scratching post, this. Well, this troublemaker looks like he wants to come on over. And there we go. There we are. They really are being naughty, all of them.
I started watching WildEarth during COVID. I decided that I wanted to study more, and I saw that Eco Training Pridelands was doing courses, and I decided to do the 8-week online theory course at the end of last year. There's just so much out there to learn and to experience.
Sign up for an Eco Training digital course today with the promo code to receive 200 Rand off.
That young bull still going on his shouting tirade. Anybody that will listen. Doesn't seem like anyone's taking much notice, though. It's really like he's got a bee in his bonnet. But if there was a big bull around here, I think he would calm down very quickly. And this one elephant here seems like it's only got one tusk in the front. Getting out of the bull's way. Maybe not. So you see there that breeding herd, they very quickly got out of his way because it's obvious that he's in the mood for a fight. Just look at his behavior. We need a big bull to come through and just to tighten him down. So Shane from the UK, just while this young bull is really going on a complete tirade. What is he up to? Now he's chasing that breeding herd. He needs to be careful. Those females will gang up against him. Don't know what his problem is. But it is a lovely start. And as I say, the hotter it is, the more elephants you can expect down here. Look, he's going to go after that warthog. Pick on somebody your own size, buddy. Look at that. Wonder what that warthog did to insult him. He's really after it. Cheapers. And of course, the warthog just jogging in front of him, under no real threat. But this loudmouth is really making his presence known around the waterhole. I think a big bull comes down now, and he's going to put him in his place very quickly. I don't think he quite knows what he was doing either. He's turning around in circles now, looking for the warthog, which has just trotted off into the bushes a little bit away from him. What's he going to do now? Are you going to go after the giraffe? You're just a bully. And bullies only go after smaller things. There, he's seen the warthog again. Just watch the angle of his tail. And that's always a very good indication of the mood of an elephant. If it's relaxed and swinging from side to side, well, you can judge that the elephant's very relaxed. But when they point it at right angles like this and it's very stiff, it's an elephant in a bit of an indifferent mood. Look how he's trying to sneak up on this warthog now. He's trying to use the cover of the bush. You think the warthog can't see you, buddy? He's kicking the dung balls around. He's really throwing his toys out the cot. Could be that he's coming into must and he's just coming to terms with the concentrations of testosterone, which can increase up to 60 times the normal levels. Look at him. He's just kicking anything and everything. A real tyrant at the moment. He's grabbed himself another bush, throwing it around. You wouldn't like to get in his way now if you were out on foot. Could get into trouble and you may have to defend yourself. Look at him. Taking out his aggression on anything and everything. Wow, stomping that bush down. Jeepers. Yeah. As Mel says, director, he's showing that bush. Won't give him nonsense anymore. Jeepers. What is he doing? I think he's sooner or later going to run out of energy as it's getting hotter as well. He might find himself rather tired after all that. Disappeared off into the thickets, but I have a feeling it's not the last we've seen of him. And the giraffe probably still wondering what on earth that was all about. Calmness restored at the waterhole. So that was just an excellent example of what the bulls can be like, particularly the younger bulls. And when they're coming, it's sort of an adolescent age, and you can think it's almost like going through puberty. Everything, a lot of hormonal imbalances, and it can affect their behavior, as you would see there. And there can be a lot of aggression involved as well. So, Wheatman, yes, you're saying longest day of the year. Is it? Yes, in fact, the summer solstice. Fantastic. And with that, upper 30 degrees Celsius, so lovely hot day. Well, you see these giraffe now just starting to feed on their favorite leaves, mainly of the acacia or vachilia thickets. I think that bird chirping, it sounds a little bit like a Cape Sparrow, I think it might be. I also heard some red-billed oxpeckers. There are some impala also just moving through in the background there, off where the giraffe are heading. Looks like they're on their way out now as well. I hope they don't come across that elephant bull in his terrible mood. And of course, as per usual, when it's very hot like this, we can expect a lot of the animals to be coming down to drink, particularly elephants. Oh, has this bull made his way into the area again? Sounds like him. But we can generally also expect that there won't be much predator activity. But you never do know. That's obviously in general, but sometimes they might also get very hot, that they want to just come down for a drink quickly, maybe rest up in the shade near to the waterhole. So who knows? We've got to keep our eyes peeled.
Are you in search of a unique, unforgettable adventure in the wild? Imagine living with the animals you see on TV while getting an inside look at how a live safari TV show operates. We're thrilled to offer this experience through our 7, 14 and 28-day EcoCam experiences. To book your spot, visit wildearth.tv/EcoCam. Come and join us for the bush experience of a lifetime.
So these are the kind of scenarios when you can actually notice within the breeding herds, when they are forced to squeeze and concentrate in a little spot like this, and the young bulls, such as that one that was making all the racket, a little bit boisterous and get pushed out by the females, because they're too close to the little babies, and they can injure them, and so that's when they get pushed away from the herd. And that's normally the beginnings of them actually becoming solitary and being weaned away from the breeding herd itself. And lots of flapping of the ears, also a very good indication of the heat that they're currently experiencing. They're keeping the radiator running so that they stay nice and cool. So, Ariel, nice question. A lot of the mammals, can cool down. Us as humans, we cool down through sweating out of our skin. Um, and you do find that a lot of the African mammals out here, they don't really sweat as much as we do. So there is a little bit of sweating throughout the antelope species, even elephants, and that, in their armpits, and in the areas where the skin is a little bit thinner. But mostly it's down to panting, which is quite an inefficient way of cooling down. Elephants, they use their ear flaps in a very big way, as you can see. They constantly flap those, pass air over the very uh, large networks of blood that is behind the ears and moves through there and cools that blood going to the brain. A lot of the other animals, as you would see, they also employ going into the shade, but then they will pant and cooling out of their mouth, which is reasonably inefficient. So they also then become lethargic. So during the heat of the day, such as this, there's not much activity. And then they'll also come down to the water to try and cool off that way too. Drink some water. That also assists. They need to replace, because there would be quite a bit of water loss with the panting. And so mammals, that's probably one of the biggest ways to cool down, is over the tongue, panting, and cooling off like this. Birds, on the other hand, they have it's a similar way, but it's much more efficient than mammals, and they actually flap. You call it the gular flapping, which is also passing wind over this and cooling down through the mouth. But it's a wobbling and a shaking of the throat area, and almost a vibrating movement. And you can see that with a lot of birds. When it gets very hot, they'll open their mouth, and then there's a lot of the shaking of their throat area. You see it very clearly with the likes of herons and cormorants when they're out the water, and getting very, very hot. And according to the research, this method is a lot more efficient than just pure panting. Is actual that gular flapping. But elephants, they do struggle to thermoregulate. They are massive animals. They've got very thick skin, so they don't really pant or sweat. So the major part is, as what you're seeing now, the flapping of the ears. And that's a wonderful adaptation that they've gained, in a sense of being able to cool down like that. And that's also why they throw water and mud behind the ears almost immediately when they get to water, when it's very hot. You may have seen it a little bit earlier when those ones were down by the water. They might stand here in the shade, but they may also, return to the water, get some more water behind the ears, and even throw some dust on themselves, try to seal that cool mud inside, and then it keeps them cooler for longer. Also, having a lot of their wrinkles as they get older, the more wrinkly they become, and it does then increase the surface area of their body and the skin. And then when they throw the water and the mud on them, it actually assists in keeping them cooler for longer as well. So the little babies, they don't cool off quite as easily as the older individuals. So it's important for them to head into the shade, and that's what you'll find the breeding herds doing, as we're seeing this one now. So, Grace, thanks for your comment. And yep, a lovely family sheltering in the shade. Everybody squeezing in, trying to get in that shade itself. And the babies, even shaded by the adults as well. And probably the wind coming from their ear flaps too. And most likely benefiting from that as well. All right, so these guys are relaxing in the shade here. I'm sure they're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So I think we'll change of place and let's head to the Greater Kruger National Park and Djuma. Where? What do we have? Which little birds are these? Anybody be able to tell me? You may have to look in your birding book. Catching a bit of a bath. I just want to see, are these both the same species? I think maybe not. That one that was having a bath now, and that one running off, some kind of night heron. Looks like a green-backed night heron. And that one there, that being a water thickney. Feeling the heat, but now making use of the water to cool down. And you hear some impala in the background. Sounds like a ram just trying to round up his females. That is a good way to cool off. I think this thickney's got the right idea. No, and that was another thickney, and then in came an Egyptian goose. I chased him off. Oh, he's back. I think getting harassed by these Egyptian geese. Most likely having a bit of a turf war between different couples. The Egyptian geese quite territorial. I'm surprised they haven't been making a racket yet. Yeah, there they go. Yeah, so that does seem to be a green-backed heron. That one with the very sharp bill off to the left. Oh, I can hear some, sounds like white-crowned helmet shrikes. In fact, no, it might have been retzes. One of the two. So, Laura, yeah, you're noticing the cicadas, how they continuously calling there, and that's why we call them the Christmas beetles. Always reminds me of this period around Christmas, and it seems like also the hotter it is, the more they call. Stridulating. If you imagine how, if you push a paint tin lid in and out, it goes boom, 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 boom. But cicadas are doing that extremely fast with their exoskeleton, and that's what's then producing that sound. There's a blacksmith lapwing. This is next to quite a number of these water thickneys. You can see the heat waves rising up here from the earth as well. So Peter, glad that you're enjoying the birding here at Djuma. And you could see we were zoomed right in there. We've got some lovely young ram impala here moving right underneath the camera. So you can have a good look at them. This impala now noticed that the camera is moving. You can see a lot of, well, it might be sniffing the air as well, but a lot of breathing, heavy breathing. It's very hot like this. And as we were speaking of, that's how they would be trying to keep cool, panting. Oh, something scared them off. Can hear rattling testiculars calling now. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Trrr. I think those impala do want to go down for a drink. Just trying to keep up with that female impala. Not very easy.
This immersive program will give you an in-depth understanding of the African bush in as little as 7 days. You'll be guided by expert trainers who will lead you through the various ecosystems of Africa and teach you essential bush skills. Join Eco Training's 7 or 14-day EcoQuest course and you will receive 500 Rand off whether you sign up locally or internationally using this promo code. Further your journey as a true bush enthusiast today.
So I never came across any leopards or lions, but I had to stop at least 2 runs because of breeding herds of elephants that came onto quarantine. It's all part and parcel of living in the bush. But we do say that you should never run when you're out there. So that's why I used to do it during the heat of the day. Well, those are Retz's helmet shrikes. Very pretty looking birds. They've got like a red flower around their eyes. Cooperative breeders. And what I like to say is they call arriva, arriva, like the Spanish Armada. So, Patty, yes, indeed. Thanks for your comment, and it is wonderful. The sounds here are amazing, and it's lovely that the birds are all out and calling. There's a little bit of wind around, but I think not enough to deter them from calling. And this is the time of year when the birds are the loudest, sort of around the nesting season, breeding season. They're all in breeding plumage, so you can expect a lot of vocalizations from the birds. It's funny that we haven't heard a woodland kingfisher just yet. Normally, as I say it, there one calls. And it looks like the Egyptian geese have at least calmed down a little bit. I think that might be the Meave starling that's calling now. It's either that or the red-billed buffalo weaver. Of course, the Cape turtle dove now, he's starting to find his voice. That high-pitched call, that's a water thickney. And there are lots of them around here. There's a black-backed puffback off in the distance. When they display, they sort of turn into this big white ball. That's why in Afrikaans they're called a sneeuwballetjie, which is directly translated into a snowball. So, and when the males sort of puff their back out, as the name suggests, a black-backed puffback, but the puffback is very brilliant white. And this green-backed heron looking to hunt, I think. So any frog or little fish or tadpole is going to become its meal. Jenna Lee, yes, thanks for your comment. And they are always focused. They're almost like an arrow. Look at that. And with a very sharp bill. They're excellent fishermen. To be a fisherman, generally, you've got to be quite patient. And these little birds are. You can see the brown veined white butterflies flitting across the surface. This is the time of the year for their migrations, heading all the way into Mozambique. So, Harriet, thanks very much for your question. And yes, changing color of animals in different conditions. I don't think that they do, Harriet. But that's a lovely question, and I'll just dig in to see if there are any animals, in fact, that the eye color does change. I think pretty much the pigment that they do have would remain. We do know that obviously some animals change through their age, but in terms of the conditions, I'm not so sure it would, enable a change. But let me do some digging. So I found a little write-up by Biomed Central, and they're saying, did you know that eye coloration only varies in human populations and their domestic animals? Wild animal species, with few exceptions, have just one type of eye coloration, be it light or dark. And by the way, when we say eye color, we refer to the iris encircling the pupil, which is always dark and expands and contracts rapidly depending on the light conditions. But I see there is some evidence that reindeers are one of those exceptions, and they change the color of the eye from winter to summer. And in the case of humans, it's common knowledge that the eye color palette is remarkably large. What is known, however, is what is not known, however, is how and when this variation emerged in the evolutionary history of Homo sapiens. And the same can be said for domestic animals, both of feather and fur. There are blue-eyed dogs, cats, horses, goats, camels, and llamas, and some of these species even have yellow eye variants. Cat breeds in particular show a remarkable variation in eye coloration, and this extends even into wild cats, including leopards and lions. In a majority of domestic breeds, however, brown is normally the default color. As it should be expected for domestic animals under selective breeding, the emergence of fixation of variants in both coat or plumage, as well as eye coloration, started at the early stages of domestication in the Neolithic era due to the cherry picking of rare color mutants. Curiously enough, eye color variants for humans may have also started very recently, about 8,000 years ago, concurrent with sedentarism and domestication of plants and animals, and only or mainly in Europe. As of today, eye color variation in humans may be described as continuous, with numerous shades from very light blue to very dark browns. In wild animals, and also in the ancestors of domestic animals, eye coloration does not tend to vary. The few reported cases of eye color variation in wild species, mostly in birds, correspond to changes associated maturation with age and some rare instances of sexual dimorphism, as with certain duck species, such as the common pockard. Bird species in which the adults have bright yellow or red eyes may have a darker brownish color in the juvenile phase. This seems to imply that certain color types require some time for the individual to accumulate the necessary pigments that provide the definitive coloration of the adult eye. Melanins, by the way, are responsible for the color differences in the eye color of humans. Dark eye colors contain eumelanin and pheomelanin. Green eyes contain mainly pheomelanin, and blue eyes contain practically no melanin. Today, it's possible to get blue eyes with a surgical procedure that removes melanin from the iris, and the acquired color is permanent because the melanin is never replaced. I don't know why anyone would want to ever do that except for an aesthetic value, because I can say from experience that having blue eyes, especially in a hot African environment, you're at a disadvantage because of having no melanin in it. My eyes have been burnt over the years, and so now I have to wear glasses. Where when I was very young, I was told if I protected my eyes, I would never have to wear glasses because I had perfect vision. And this was said by the optometrist. And then when I had to eventually get glasses because I failed a driving test for my professional driver's permit, they said the optometrist said that I've actually got acute, almost like arc eyes that you would get from welding, from the bright African sun, and with having no melanin in my eyes. So the darker your eyes, the better they are, especially in a hot environment and very bright environment that you would find yourself in Africa. And I spent a lot of time, obviously, in Etosha for many, many years, and it's extremely bright and very similar to the conditions that you would have in the snow. And I believe that is probably where my eyes were burnt. That and surfing, staring into the sun on the west coast, near to Swakopmund, with the salt air as well. And so, really at a disadvantage having blue eyes with the kind of work I do.
We all know the struggle of finding the perfect gift. But what if you could give them an unforgettable experience? Something truly extraordinary. Introducing Nature Eye. Fly a real drone remotely at iconic locations, witnessing the beauty of nature like never before. Sign up to be an explorer and you could win one of these experiences yourself. Visit natureeye.com today.
So, continuing on the research of eyes changing according to weather conditions, it seems that the Arctic reindeer is the only mammal that actually seasonally changes its eye color. And they say that the eyes of the Arctic reindeer change color through the seasons from gold to blue, adapting to extreme changes of light levels in the environment and helping to detect predators. There was research funded by the Biotechnology and Biological Sciences Research Council, and they carried out by scientists at the UCL Institute of Ophthalmology and the University of Tromsø in Norway, showed that the color change helps reindeer to see better in the continuous daylight of summer and continuous darkness of Arctic winters by changing the sensitivity of the retina to the light. Arctic reindeer, like many animals, have a layer of tissue in the eye called the tapetum lucidum, or the TL, which lies behind the retina and reflects light back through it to enhance night vision. By changing its color, the TL reflects different wavelengths of light. In the bright light of summer, the TL in Arctic reindeer is gold, similar to many other mammals, which reflects most light back directly through the retina. However, by winter, it has changed to a deep blue, which reflects less light out of the eye. And this color change in reindeer's eyes gives them an advantage when it comes to spotting predators in the low light of the Arctic winter. So, a bit of an anti-predator uh, uh, evolved behavior, you know? That's incredible. So, with that, we can conclude that none of the animals here in Africa would be changing their eye color due to the weather conditions, because it's not as extreme as I think those animals in the Arctic are experiencing, with 6 months of darkness, 6 months of light. Here we have a little bit of change of the length of day and night, but there's not really those kind of extremes at all. See lots of very quick breathing, heavy breathing. This ram just lying in the sun, but now got to expend a lot of energy to keep itself relatively cool. It must be very hot there lying in the sun. I would suggest he go and find himself some shade. Well, this ram has got a lovely set of horns on him. Looks like he is in his prime. Can hear a laughing dove now as well, joining the chorus of the other birds. Always worthwhile just checking around through the bushes, on the branches, etc. You never know when you might see a leopard hanging from a tree or a bird of prey on one of these dead branches. Okay, so it's been wonderful here, all the bird calls especially. But I think time to change of place. Let's go and check in with our elephants back at Jamala. Well, it looks like there's a few more individuals around, a couple of bigger bulls. I don't think you'd see that younger bull pushing his weight around like he was with the presence of these bigger guys. But as bulls do, there's still a bit of argy-bargy. So, Benji, yeah, I think animals do have phobias. I think all of the prey species have got lion, leopard, and hyena phobias, most definitely. But if we had to talk in the lines of, and snakes as well, I think it's anything that's got bright colors on it. But in the sense of the way that we have phobias, it's normally driven by some kind of childhood experience with, whatever you've become scared of and now have a phobia of. Mine is for spiders. As much time as I spend in the bush, it's, I think, started when I was very small. I watched the movie Arachnophobia, and it really made me very scared of spiders. But the other thing is that they're the sort of silent assassins. They hide under the tables, under chairs, and very often you don't even know that you've been bitten by a spider, and then you end up with these massive sores, etc., and necrosis. Whereas with snakes, I don't have a problem with them at all. I've taken and pulled countless snakes out of tents and bathrooms for guests, and for students, etc. A very highly venomous snakes as well, from cobras, Mozambique spitting cobras, mainly, also snouted cobras, and all sorts. I would never go anywhere near a black mamba. I just think the chances of survival is very slim if that thing comes anywhere near you. So that's the one snake I would not go anywhere near. If I see that, I will go head the other direction. But the rest of them, I don't have a problem. But yes, so for me, it was a bit of a childhood experience with spiders, but then leading on into the experience of the, as I say, the secret venomous little creatures that you don't very easily see, and then you get bitten, and so that's why I don't like them, and I can't stand them anywhere near me. But it's not like I go out and kill them or anything. It's just I don't like them. But as I say, that's a sort of childhood experience. Whereas with wildlife, I think it's similar, but it's what uh, it puts a threat on their life. So elephants, they definitely have a phobia with predators as well. They hate lions and leopards and wild. They'll chase them as far as they can, and they detest them. So could you call that a phobia? As you see that one just sliding into the water, looks like he's going to have a proper bath. And the antelope, everybody, obviously, if they see a predator, it creates a massive sort of reaction from everybody. So I think you could probably class that as phobias, and anything that would be able to kill them and that's brightly colored. I think there may even be phobias for honey badgers because of their behavior as well.
Eco Training's professional field guide course can make your dreams a reality. This comprehensive program comprises 5 months of theoretical and practical training in the African bush with highly qualified instructors in multiple locations. Enroll today and receive 5,000 Rand off using the promo code. If you've just finished school or tertiary education and you want to head into the wild, Eco Training's professional field guide course is for you.
See, and for the elephants, who do sort of struggle to keep cool, this is the easiest way for them, in fact, to keep cool. Standing up in the shade, that's obviously one way, but it's definitely not as efficient as what they're doing now. And this is obviously lots of fun as well. So why wouldn't you? Right, he's decided to mix that mud up properly. This just looks like so much fun. And you can just see the pleasure that they are gaining from this. Loving it. But almost exactly as humans, even when it's very hot, we struggle to keep cool as well. But around a lovely swimming pool, then there's it's a very efficient way of keeping cool, and there's normally lots of fun and games and sports happening around swimming pools, and it's very similar with the elephants. You can see as they enjoy keeping cool, and it's less energy required to keep your ears flapping. You're just in the water, so and takes that requirement away. But then you can add to that and have lots of fun as well. So keeping up with Sistine, question around a matriarch and if they're elected or if they inherit it. Um, it's generally the oldest female, so they don't inherit it. It sort of comes as in a procession. So whoever's the oldest and most experienced female normally then lands up taking on the role. And that's because the herd follows her because she knows where to go to get water when when it's dry. She knows where to access food and throughout the different seasons. Um, and so when a matriarch dies, it's normally the female that is the next oldest, just younger than her, that will take on the role. And because she's then got the second most experience. So it sort of happens like that. Um, and there can be sometimes a bit of conflict over the matriarch if you've got two, of almost exactly the same age and experience. There can be a little bit of fighting over that, and one may be pushed out. You can have breakaway groups as well with elephants. Maybe then there's two of similar age, and then the one sort of moves off. They both want to take on the matriarch role, and you may then have that female with her offspring that didn't sort of get that position, moving with her offspring that could be of different ages and females that will move with her. So then you can have these splits and the breakaways. So it's not elected, it's not inherited either. It's just more so of whoever the elders are within the group will take on the position. So, Nicholas, thanks for your question. And not necessarily that the matriarch will walk in front, but she will be driving the group through communication. So sometimes, it can often be that she should be in the front because the group is sort of following her, but she could also be communicating with them verbally of which direction to take. And then you may have some of the younger females in front walking as per her direction. That she's told them. So not always, but mostly, I would say, the female does lead from the front.
Hickory dickory dock, the kids ran to the spot. The clock struck 4, the kids sat down, hickory dickory dock. Our Kids Safaris bring interactive entertainment and learning to the future protectors of our world for 1 hour every weekday during our safari drives. Watch it live on your nearest device. Don't miss out on the fun. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So, and it's not too long, and we will be welcoming also the Africam waterholes, which then does sort of give us a lot more different locations as well. So, we'll be keeping our eyes out on those cameras too, and we'll go wherever there is some lovely action. You see some of those elephants playing, the other one scratching, the other one by the water. But I just want to go a little bit further on the matriarchs and how they're chosen, because I found a nice write up by the Global Sanctuary for Elephants. And they say that matriarchs have been described as aggressively dominant or acting more as authoritative figures within the herd. But research finds this to be largely untrue, as many take into account the suggestions of other elephants within the herd, though ultimately the final decision will almost always be hers. Most successful matriarchs are not self appointed females who force their way into the position, but are instead chosen by other members of the family, often because of her age and her or perceived wisdom, which is what I was alluding to. She is respected and has proven to her herd that she can be trusted to make the best decisions for the family. The best matriarch is able to show compassion and care for all members of the herd, not just the calves or other adult elephants that she's directly mothered. And like I say, it normally lands up being the sort of oldest and most experienced female within the group at that particular stage. So, almost time just for the introduction of the Africam waterholes, and that will be coming up shortly. And that's just the camera doing its own thing. Sorry about that. And as we just watch these Ellies still enjoying the water, slowly moving around it. Just lovely.